Hey, did I tell you about all the great holiday sales? Now, if only you could get to the stores to enjoy them. Welcome, everybody. I'm Neil Cavuto. And shop till you're blocked? Because protesters in New York City this week blocking roads, bridges, tunnels, and yes, malls. To the Reverend Jesse Lee Peterson, who says, of course, those protesters have rights, but not when they start trampling on everyone else's. Reverend, good to have you. What did you think of what happened in New York? It was much more peaceful, and down in Ferguson, it was a much more diverse crowd than the one we saw in Ferguson, but it was a disruptive crowd.
You know, when I saw the crowd, I automatically thought of Occupy Wall Street, and I thought of Anonymous and this Communist Party, how they had organized this rally under the pretense that they were doing it because of bad cops or racist cops, when really it is that they're using Garner and other situations for their own personal gain. These people disrupted businesses. We have people coming in from around the world this time of year shopping and tourists who are looking around. Right. And their young kids are hearing these folks curse and say bad words. And so what they're trying to do is go after the so-called 1%ers. They want to hurt big businesses. And I think that they're taking advantage of the Michael Brown and other situations, Eric Garner, for their own personal gain. It is not about Eric Garner or Michael Brown in this particular case.
You know, Reverend, I'm curious at what you make or how you distinguish between the Ferguson grand jury non-indictment and the New York non-indictment. In both cases, as you know, the Attorney General has promised a federal probe in each case. What do you say?
Yeah. Well, you know, the one thing I know for a fact, this is not about race. It has nothing to do with officers or police officers being racist. It's just that they're injecting that because that's what liberals do when they want to get what they want. I mean, it's unfortunate that Eric Garner died, you know, but you have to still consider he resisted arrest at the time. They were trying to get him to allow them to put the handcuffs on. He refused to do it. And I don't think that when they took him down, the plan was to kill him.
No, I agree.
But was
you know,
to
but
just
here's where
I'll
respectfully disagree, sir. And I admire the heck out of you and how brave you are, because you say things in the face of public sentiment that often says the opposite. In Garner's case, maybe I felt sympathy for him because he kept saying, I can't breathe, and obviously the officer had no way of knowing that by doing what he was doing, he was going to kill the guy. But what's done is done. So there was a legal justification from some lawyers I talked to, none of the men of God, so I can't trust them, as you know, Reverend. But they all said, they all said to a T that if there were ever grounds for an indictment, that case was it. But it's done and it's over with. But by not saying it's done and over, I'm just wondering what happens now and whether the federal government, Washington more to the point, just makes a bad thing even worse.
Yes, I agree with that. That's what's going on. But also, Neil, I was told that there was a black female sergeant there who was watching the whole thing. She was observing this whole ordeal.
She was among the six.
You're
right, Reverend. You're right. She was among the six.
And if she was there observing what was happening, had this guy, the officer, intentionally or going after Mr. Garner personally, she would not have approved of it. Apparently, she thought everything was fine.
Right.
And also on the grand jury, they say that there were at least five black people who heard the evidence and saw the evidence. Apparently, they didn't see any problem with what the officer had done. I was watching the video, and I couldn't quite tell that when the officer had his arm around Mr. Garner's neck, was it on the front throat or just around the side of the neck?
I'm hardly Perry Mason, Reverend. I just, when I hear the guy saying at least a dozen times, I can't breathe, but I don't know. And you know, the grand jury had a lot more evidence of them than do I. I do want to end on this note that I began, sir, and that is protests and you had said prior that in Ferguson, protesters have the right to protest. That's American. That's what we as a free people do. I think you said, I don't want to take words out of context, Reverend, but you had said that when it gets violent, or then it's a whole other deal. What about when they are just blocking entrances to subway stations or to stores? Does that
Well, they don't have a right. That's right. They don't have a right to do that, Neil. They should go to the parks. They should do what Martin Luther King did, protest peacefully and not interrupt businesses, not interrupt the drivers on the roads, shut down freeways, or prevent regular folks or citizens from going to and for their businesses and taking care of their day. It's wrong when they do that. That's when they're out of control. And I believe that, as I said, this is happening because they want to go after big businesses. And I do want to add one other quick thing. When the mayor of New York inserted race in this incident, it threw me off. I'm saying this is absolutely insane. And on 2 counts, first of all, it had nothing to do with race, and all that it's going to do is encourage more anger in the black community. And secondly, you have the mayor of the city turning on his employees. It's like your boss is turning against you. And I personally think that the mayor owed the police department their public apology for turning on them in this manner.
Reverend, here's where I can offer you advice. Don't wait for that. But it's always good having
not going
you.
To happen.
Always good having you, my friend. And we very much appreciate your guts and your wisdom. Thank you, Reverend.
Thank you very much. Thank you.